As y'all have heard me say before, the most important part of planning any adventure are the snacks. And if you're looking for a delicious and nutritious snack that packs a real protein punch, crack into a good source of protein with tasty, healthy, wonderful pistachios. Each 1 ounce serving of wonderful pistachios contains 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value in that one serving. It's one of the highest protein nuts out there. And that's not all. Pistachios are also known for the fiber and better for you unsaturated fats, which may help keep you feeling fuller longer. Best part, wonderful pistachios come in a variety of flavors and sizes. Perfect for enjoying with your family and friends or taking them with you on your summer adventures for those snacks we're talking about. So whether you're dropping off the kiddos or running between meetings or about to climb a mountain, fuel up with a healthy and tasty snack. Wonderful Pistachios will be your new go-to. You can check them out at wonderfulpistachios.com and learn more about how these little green wonders can power up your day. Between adventures and crazy trips all around the world and in the swamp or wherever, our guests and podcasts take us, I actually love spending time hanging out on the couch with my family. We just got our first TV, and one of the most crucial pieces of items you need when watching a movie together or hanging out in bed and watching a show as a family is a good blanket. And I have not found anything close to the Barabee hand-knitted weighted blankets. They're so cozy, so comfortable. The kids love them. I fall asleep pretty much every time we turn a movie on with that blanket on because it's just that comfortable. And my family and I have been fully integrated into what Barabee calls the napperhood. So if you're looking for a natural solution to help you sleep better, help you feel calmer, try one of Barabee's hand-knitted weighted blankets. You can find them on Instagram at mybarabee and visit barabee.com. That's BEARABY.com. They offer free shipping and hassle-free returns on all orders within the contiguous U.S. Hey folks, welcome to the Adventure Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Mason Gravely. Today is a Throwback Thursday episode to an episode we did 4 years ago. Holy cow, time flies. With Caleb Smith, known as Kale Boston on Instagram. I found myself telling stories about Caleb and his blade packing and rollerblading, cross-country rollerblading trips to some friends this weekend. We went and did a paddle trip on this really cool, remote, swampy river in Florida. It was incredible. Camped out in the woods, and I was telling stories, and I'm like, you know what? I don't think we've ever revisited that episode. I think that'd be a perfect one to bring back up and show people just because it's such a cool twist on what we all know as rollerblading. But Caleb takes it to the extreme and basically backpacks or bike packs with rollerblades. Blade packing. Carry all your stuff on your back and just rollerblade, across the state, in this case, New Mexico. So I thought it was a really cool idea. If you want to go with me next year on a trip to Yosemite, we're looking at planning a backpacking trip to go see my favorite place in the whole world, Yosemite Valley and the backcountry there. Fill out the survey online. You have, I think, one more day before it closes. So go ahead and fill it out. It's in the show notes. And thanks so much to everybody checking it out. Share the show, leave a review if you can, and let's go ahead and dive into this really cool story. Where are you coming from today?
Des Moines, Iowa.
Oh, cool. All right. Is that home for you?
It is, yeah. I grew up in Central Illinois, and then I lived in Central Iowa for 6 years. And then the last year and a half, I've been kind of living out of a backpack on the road, traveling everywhere. And we just moved back. We just got a place in Des Moines 4 months ago.
Oh, sweet. What's it like in Des Moines?
Des Moines, awesome, man. It's like, every time people ask me about Des Moines, they say we've only ever driven through Iowa on the interstate. But like, Des Moines is a rad little city. It's full of like a ton of artists and musicians. We have really great food. We have a ton of breweries. Like, it's a very bicycle friendly city. So for me, that works out a lot. Like we've got tons of trails and tons of bike lanes. downtown's like really organized and really well maintained. And it's just like a friendly, nice little, it's like a big city that feels like a little city.
So you grew up there. Now you're 29, but you've been skating for 25 years, meaning, dude, you were little when you started. Is that kind of the culture there? Is there a big culture? Did your parents get into it? Like, how did that happen?
Actually, the story of me starting was when my mom, she was a single mother when she was in college. She had me and my two sisters, and her friend got rollerblades when they were really popular in the 90s to get around from classes at college. And then she got me a pair, and we just started skating around the driveway together and skating up and down the block. And then obviously she, put hers away, but I never stopped. And it's just like, I skated by myself for a while, and then as all little kids do, I skated pretty regularly. And then in sixth grade, one of my friends got aggressive skates. And then that's when aggressive inline came out, and, ramp skating was cool and street skating was cool. And that's when it really took off for me, and it became like a daily discipline. And yeah, that's been so many years ago now.
Oh man. I feel like inline skating had like a heyday in the 90s with like X Games and stuff. I used to have a video game, I think called Extreme. It was on PlayStation, and I used to play like inline skating, and you'd go down like highways and stuff. But other
For
than
real?
that, I do not have any connection to inline skating at all. So there is a pretty solid following to it, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it was so huge in the 90s, and then it just kind of, when they took it out of the X Games, and for a lot of other reasons, it kind of collapsed in on itself. And it was left to like this small community of us to build it back up, which has been like a super blessing, because we've had a chance to really look at our sport internally and like really see where we wanted to take it. And it's shown the skaters who are really dedicated and passionate towards it, because we've all kept through it. Like when I was a kid, the dream was to be a sponsored skater. And then as I got into my teens, it kind of died out, and it was like, that's impossible. You're never going to be a sponsored skater. And so that was the point where you're like, well, I love this, so I'm not going to stop doing this. And you just, years and years have gone by, and every year skaters say, this is the year, it's coming back. And strangely enough, in the last like 5 years, aggressive roller skating has gotten really big, and it's like a female-led community. And somehow, in combination with that, rollerblading is finally making its comeback. It's like it's got this sport that's so similar to it on the rise, and it's just kind of like tagged along and is building itself back up, and it's really awesome to see and experience. But aside from that, yeah, not a lot of people know about skating anymore. It's so fun how many times daily that I'm skating, people say, oh man, people still rollerblade.
That's so funny, man. I have to be honest. It's something I do not think about that much, but I had some friends in college that did it, but they were by no means like enthusiasts. It was just, they had some like by the front door and would go every once in a while, but they weren't very good. Was there times from 5 years old till, I don't know, high school where you were just the only person doing this? Were you being made fun of it all? Like, what was that experience like?
I've had so many chapters of that where when I was younger, I was by myself. And then sixth grade, all my friends started. And then eighth grade, they all quit. So the first 3 years of high school, I skated by myself. And then a girl in my math class, she was like, oh, I found out you skate. My boyfriend skates. So I met him, and through him, I met the community of aggressive skaters around like central Illinois. Because it got so small that in my town, there was only one other skater. The town next to us, there was one other skater. So you had to travel to meet other aggressive skaters. And so, yeah, there was a long time where I just skated by myself.
So what about it made you stick with it? Because a lot of, especially kids, like they move on from fads. Like I have sports I was really into for 3 years and then have never played again. What about it made you just stick with it for so long?
Oh man, the freedom and the sense of expression. I get that. I get asked that question the most, I think, and it's definitely like the freedom you get and the ability to express yourself, because every single skater has their own style and their own ways of going about the sport. And I think that is unique to itself. There's a lot of sports where, people might have their own style, but it's not necessarily unique to the person. And with this sport, it's like I have a family of skaters, but I'm also doing my own thing where I'm like, feel totally free. I can, do exactly what I want to do and just express myself. And that's, I think, it's my favorite feeling when I skate.
I mean, just like the different ways you can skate. Is that how? And just kind of the way you can move your body back and forth across all these different mediums?
Yeah, there's so many different types of skating, which is one aspect. And then just the movement alone, like you're not limited. Like it's kind of like dancing. You can dance in any way you'd like. And I've always been a person who's kind of afraid to dance, like at weddings and such. Like it takes me a while to get out on the floor, but when I'm on skates, man, I like feel this crazy feeling where I can just move how I want, and I'm not afraid of what it looks like because it just feels so natural.
Man, that's so cool. I was watching some videos of you, and honestly, from your looks, you honestly look like a skateboarder. Like, you got that, I don't know, that look about you. But the skates that I've seen you wear and kind of just doing research on the culture, you kind of do the same thing skateboarders do, but then you can do what basically figure skaters are doing. Then you can do what cyclists are doing. Then you can do what literally hiking on trails with these all-terrain skates. It's like you can cover so much different types of ground with skates. Can you just kind of go over some of the basic, I don't know, the biggest buckets that skaters are in, or your favorite ones? Because it seems, like you said, just super broad.
Yeah, there's a lot. So I started out aggressive skating.
And what is that?
So aggressive inline skating is like more tricks and stunts. You're grinding down rails, you're jumping off of ramps, and jumping over gaps as big as you can go. And it's like it's a little bit more dangerous, but it's a little bit more of like an instant rush, like adrenaline. That one is a lot more like the skateboarding. It's more doing tricks, and then you got this resurgence in like the last 6 years of what most people call it big wheel blading, but it's just, I would say, recreational skating. We've got these bigger wheels. The aggressive wheels, are like 55 millimeter, so they're small, like a skateboard wheel. And then for the big wheel blading, you go all the way up to 125 millimeter wheels, and you'll got like 3 of those on a skate, and that helps you cruise, as fast as cyclists can go. And then you've got smaller skates in the middle with 80 millimeter wheels, and you can set up different wheel types to be able to do slalom skating and dance skating and sliding and so many different types.
You said the resurgence of the subculture is kind of in the big wheel skating. And what are most people doing? Do they just kind of go out like on a bike path or something?
Yeah, a lot of bike path skating. There's in most major cities now, there are weekly skate groups popping up. So they go out on like LA's got a Tuesday night skate. New York's got like a Friday night skate. Atlanta's got a Friday night skate. And you go out, and sometimes it'll be a mix of aggressive guys that are on big wheels. And then you've got, some moms and dads that, just skate for exercise. And then, young kids that are getting into it. And you go out and you'll do 8 or 10 miles around the downtown area. And that's becoming really big again, because a lot of people are, rollerblading down, and now it's coming back, and they're saying, oh yeah, this is really fun and it's really good exercise.
That's interesting. I live in Denver. I'm sure there is people doing it. I just have not seen it. It's a very active community. And obviously there's a lot of great hills and mountains to make some pretty fun routes, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, they have a group called Dust. It's the Denver Urban Skate Troupe, and I think they go maybe every Thursday. I'd have to check. I got a couple friends in that group too.
That's awesome. So, I mean, for you, do you have a decent culture around you that likes doing the same type of skating you do, or are you kind of constantly sifting through the parents with kids that are, I don't know, maybe doing it slow or maybe just doing it a different way?
Here in Des Moines is actually very different, and I think that's the reason why I got put on the path that I'm on. Most all my friends here are aggressive skaters, And in our mid to late 20s, we started reaching this point where we started slowing down. A lot of us have jobs and are starting families, and we don't want to get hurt. And it was like, the next chapter of me finding myself skating alone. So I skated alone so much in Des Moines. I started like training and just it was when I first started doing real distance skating, and I was by myself and I didn't have anyone else really to gauge off of. So, finding out that like a Tuesday night group does 10 miles, 10 miles to me seemed like a regular thing. And then 20 miles to me seemed like a regular thing. And then 30 miles seemed like a regular thing. And, it's really strange for me to run into other skaters in Des Moines because, from one perspective, I see that the sport did die out and there wasn't other skaters. So for a long time, I knew every single skater. And so when you run into a regular person and they're skating, it in a way is really strange to me. And I would say, hey, whoa, you skate? I skate too, man. And it's like this super awkward introduction of like, I'm looking for friends that also skate.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, man. I bet it is tough.
But I was really thankful for that because it gave me, at a point in my life when I needed it, it gave me a lot of time to reflect and meditate. I think in your mid 20s, a lot of my friends are, have been working careers right out of college or been doing something that they weren't sure about for a while. And we all kind of fall into that like quarter life crisis of like, what am I doing, or why am I doing what I'm doing? And I hit that, and I hit that right when I was at the point where I was alone, and just being able to be free and to skate, miles and miles every day alone gave me so much time to think about like, what am I really doing? Why have I been skating all these years? What do I want from this? Because like, obviously things changed over the years. The idea of being a sponsored pro skater, being this cool guy that does tricks, like it all sort of shifted. And I was really at first I was upset that I was alone, but then I became to really, really enjoy it and really be thankful for like the solitude and the alone time and the ability to like just meditate constantly. Sorry if I mumble on. I'm trying not to ramble.
No, I love getting into why and the deeper things. It's cool talking about equipment and stuff, but honestly, I'd rather talk about stuff that applies to all of us. Because a lot of people can relate to that. They might be alone in what they're doing. I definitely feel that sometimes. So if I'm not mistaken, your girlfriend does this with you too. Did you recently meet her, or was that helpful in finding someone else to do this? Let's take a quick message break and hear from the folks that help make this show possible. Cold turkey is great on sandwich, but it's not always the best approach when it comes to breaking habits. I'm not talking about any magic here. I'm talking about our newest sponsor, Fume. They took a look at a problem in a different way. Not everything in a bad habit is wrong. So instead of a crazy change, why not remove the bad out of the habit? Fume is an innovative, award-winning flavored air device that does just that. So instead of vapor, Fume uses flavored air. Instead of harmful chemicals, Fume uses delicious flavors. And instead of electronics, Fume is completely natural. No batteries, no electricity. I've been using my Fume. It's a really cool handheld device that you put this little core in and you can breathe air, and it's just like similar. It's just something to do that can kind of distract you if you are used to having something else in your hand that that might not be as good for you. It's really cool. There's no gimmick. There's no trick to it. It's just a really cool tool that helps, breathe some flavored air in while you drive or while you're hanging out at the office. There's no smoke. There's no anything. If you know anybody in your life trying to break a bad habit, maybe Fume is going to be that answer for them. It's helped hundreds of thousands of people so far. And if you want to give it a shot and learn more, maybe you're still a little confused, head to tryfume.com/adventure and use the code ADVENTURE to save 10% off your order. That's tryfum.com/adventure and use the code ADVENTURE to save an additional 10% off. Give it a shot. Thank you, Fume, for sponsoring the show. I am a proud user of Manscaped. They are the revolutionary hair trimmer that a lot of men use. And our friends over at Manscaped have been working night and day to bring you below the waist grooming experience like none other with their brand new Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. It's the next generation of trimmer with interchangeable blade heads for whatever shave your mind can imagine. Is it the biggest technological advancement of all time? I think it is. And that's why you need to get it and upgrade your grooming game to the Ultra Sphere this year by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with the code ADVENTURE at checkout. You can take it on the go. This puppy comes with a travel case, travel lock feature to avoid accidentally powering on or off. It's actually really handy. One of my headlamps just died the other night because it turned on by itself in my backpack. And speaking of lights, it has dual LED spotlights just like your regular lawnmower. So like I said, get 20% off plus free shipping with the code ADVENTURE at manscaped.com. It's very high tech for very low places. That is plenty of that for now. Let's get back into the episode.
Yeah, so we met like 3.5 years ago, and she's from Chicago. And she's a roller skater. And strangely enough, my best friend, at the same time I was transitioning to like this ultra blading, he got into roller derby for a minute, and then he got into the trick skating on the roller skates, which was super bizarre because, I've watched him be a rollerblader for 17 years, and then suddenly he's on roller skates, which you would think is like a step backwards. But he's crazy talented on roller skates. It's incredible to watch him. And so he started traveling to Chicago to meet these roller girls. So I started going, and me and my girlfriend met, and she had been interested in big wheel blading, for exercise. And I helped her find her first pair, and she started skating. And then I just said, hey, let's skate together. Our first date actually was, she came to Iowa and she did the last day of RAGBRAI with me. Do you know what RAGBRAI is?
Heck yeah. But on bikes, I'm a cyclist, but you can skate it too?
Yeah. I mean, they never told me I couldn't.
That's too cool.
I've done it 3 years in a row, and I love it. Like, it's definitely a super, super crazy feat to do it on skates, but it's, for the extreme challenges, it has like extreme benefits, and it just feels awesome after you complete it.
Are you the only person doing it on skates?
I met the first year I did it, there was a speed skater from San Diego, a retired Olympic speed skater, and his daughter was cycling it. So he would do a day of skating, and then he'd cycle for a few days and then do a day of skating. So that was really reassuring, because when I did my first RAGBRAI, I thought I'd be completely alone, like none of my friends really knew what it was. They didn't know what I was trying, and they didn't, because of that, they weren't able to like give me the support I needed. So I was really like alone for that one. And then when I met that guy on the first day, I thought, wow, like it was so reassuring to see someone else doing it. And then the second year I did it, I was completely by myself, but honestly, I loved it. Like it was, the first year was a challenge, and the second year I came back and just like, powered through it. I just like had trained so hard all year and just said like, I'm going to do this. I actually, this site, Big Wheel Blading, wrote an article about the first year I did RAGBRAI. And the title of the article was Caleb Smith Conquers the RAGBRAI Challenge. And, that first RAGBRAI was so hard because like by the third day I couldn't walk. My back was cramping up. My legs were cramping up. I had to take a day off. The day after that, I had to take a day off. And it didn't feel like I conquered RAGBRAI. So I made it a point to like train extra hard. And I showed up the next year. I skated every single mile of RAGBRAI plus extra miles in the in the stayover towns, just doing my like personal skates. And I really enjoyed it. And she showed up, my girlfriend showed up on the last day. She wasn't my girlfriend at the time. It was our first date. And she showed up and skated 70 miles with me. And it was super crazy.
Holy cow, 70 miles as a first date? I mean,
Yeah,
that's a lot to do on a bike. Is that kind of typical on skates to do in a day?
It's not. I think a really good average day is like 40 to 50 miles. 70 miles is definitely like an extreme day. And that day, I think we were both kind of, on that cosmic energy um, that helped us out. Because we honestly, we had breakfast and then we started skating and we kept saying, oh, we'll stop eventually. We'll stop eventually. And we stopped once for an ice cream cone and we stopped another time for some pickle juice and a pickle. And that was all we had the whole day. And we just skated 70 miles and talked about life. And I mean, it didn't feel like 70 miles. It felt like 7 miles. It was nuts.
What were you thinking about her at that point after that day? Like, this girl's amazing.
I think in the year leading up to that, I got three of my friends to skate 5 miles with me. And so I thought, man, is she going to drop out right away? She didn't drop out. And, after 40 miles, I thought, this is so crazy. And after 70 miles, I thought, this girl is incredible. This is like, um, she's right here in front of me reading. So,
Okay.
um, you
Yeah, you
know
don't want to
what? It
tell her
was
how you
really
really feel.
at the end of that 70-mile day. I like we went to the river crossing. At the end of Ragbri, it's customary to dip your tires in the Mississippi River, and we got there, and there was this huge line of cyclists waiting at the dipping point, and we kind of just as we skated up, people knew us. People had been cheering for us all day. And when you skate on Ragbri, you kind of become like a micro celebrity, and it's pretty cool. Um, but everyone cheered for us as we crossed the finish line, and they kind of parted ways, and they let us skate through, and we skated up to the river, and I turned around and I asked her if I could kiss her, and I told her she was one of the most incredible women I've ever met in my life. And, since then it's been growing incredible. We've done so many crazy things in this year and a half.
Holy cow, man. That is awesome. So, from that point, like, how big, your vision obviously has gotten bigger. You've done some trips. How did that go about? Did you just suggest, hey, let's make some trips happen?
Yeah. So like our next big trip we did together was the New Mexico trip. She's a graphic designer, and I was in the middle of traveling and had been kind of planning this trip, and she was transitioning from her job at a design firm to be the creative director for Rydell roller skates. So they kind of said, we'll give you a 2-week time period to like buffer things out. And then she said, how about could I do 4 weeks? Because I'm trying to do this trip, and everything just lined up perfectly. We both got one-way tickets to El Paso, Texas, and kind of just like planned it out like Ragbri vibes. We carried our gear with us. I've been doing like ultralight backpacking for a while, so I'm pretty good at packing what I need to survive. And it was definitely like an interesting swing trying to do it for a blade packing trip. But we packed our gear, we picked the route that we thought would work best, and we just started skating. And that trip was incredible. I mean, it had moments of setbacks for sure. One second. It had moments of setbacks and moments of like, you can plan any trip you want as much as you want. You can plan the routes. You can think that you have everything you need, but you always are going to faced with new challenges and difficulties. And I mean, it was like the first day of Ragbri. Like we would start skating and the scenery was so beautiful. It was so easy to get lost in conversation, and definitely during the hard parts, it'd be quiet. We'd just the sound of us skating, up a mountainside, or through like a desert plain. But it was awesome. It's like, I'm really trying to get more people into blade packing because it's an experience that's kind of hard to find. And a lot of bike packers can relate. They know what it's like, to carry your gear and to just camp and kind of be free floating and not have like a certain direction. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. I'm a bike packer by not trade, but whatever. That's my thing. And when I saw the term blade packing, I have literally have never seen that word. I know what it is. but I wanted to hear what the heck, how do you do, not how do you do that? I understand like how it works, but what an interesting idea. And so just to be clear, you and your girlfriend blade packed, literally toured on rollerblades across New Mexico, and you carried all your own stuff with no support, correct?
Correct.
I would love to hear more about that. That is an incredible idea. When you first had the idea, what did your girlfriend say?
Uh, Honestly, I had planned the whole thing out pretty good, and I just said like, I had planned this out long before I met her, and I said like, "Hey, I'm doing this. Would you want to do it?" And she said, she didn't really question me honestly. Which, thinking back on that, it's kind of weird. But she just said, "Let's do it." She said, "What do I need?" And we started collecting the gear for her.
What do you need for something like that?
I have that packing list. I wrote everything down that we carried just so we would know. We took our aggressive skates and we mailed them to skaters that we had gotten connected to online, so we wouldn't have to carry those. Because we weren't gonna, trick skate the whole time. We just wanted to trick skate in some of the more major cities with skate parks. So we had our big wheel blades, backpacks, a little bit of clothing, ultralight tent, ultralight camping set.
So pretty much backpacking just with rollerblades on your feet.
Honestly, yeah, it's just backpacking with rollerblades, but you got to carry a couple extra parts for your skates, and that's it.
Yeah, man. Same with me. With the bike, I carry, some patch kits, a few little tools, but other than that, it's pretty much backpacking just on the road and trails, too, because if you're on a mountain bike, you can take trails. But was it hard getting used to the weight on your back, or did you train for it? How did that work?
Um, I've done enough backpacking that I knew the weight was going to be difficult. So I like really tried to cut as much as we could out, and we got our packs pretty light. They were like right around 20 pounds each. And it was definitely interesting getting used to it at first. It was more like, wearing your helmets and having the pack come up on your back and like your head can't go back as much. It's like kind of a strange feeling to get used to, but it wasn't really harder to skate. It just was more of a workout, honestly. And then after, the first couple days, we got used to it, and it never really bothered us to have our backpacks. There was one time I wiped out though with the pack on, and that definitely was a bummer.
Yeah, say the least. I'm sure.
We turned down this road. The roads there were all insane. We'd skate. There was one of the skates we did to this. We were in Roswell and we skated. We were supposed to be there for 4 days, so we wanted to skate to this state park. And so it was 23 miles out. So we started to skate, and the road was like broken and gravelly and awful. And it was like, we just kept telling ourselves, oh, it's going to change eventually. Every road, it changes eventually. And 20 miles in, it had not changed. And we were like, 20 miles of bad roads is like 100 miles of skating. It's awful. And then we come to the end of this awful road, and it's a big hill, and we skate up this huge hill. And then it was like this 2-mile decline into the state park. And it was like this perfect brand new road on the edge of this bluff that overlooks these lakes. And it's just like moments like that, like you forget that you just had 20 miles of, super intense skating. It's so overwhelming and beautiful. And you're just like, man, like it's so hard to express in words. All right. What was the question? I got lost there for a second.
I don't even know, man. It just sounds amazing. You fell, you bombed like somewhere.
Wipeout. Yeah. Our route kept getting crazy, and we were like kind of detouring on the edge of this town, and there was like, we could continue on this highway that was like kind of full of a lot of traffic, or we could take this side road. And we like are looking at this side road, and it's like a little leading down into it, and it like looked kind of weird. The ground looked weird, and I thought this might be like loose sand or something. Let me check it out. And I started to skate down this hill ahead of her, like 20 feet probably. And I hit the bottom of this hill, and it was like an inch and a half of sand. And my feet stuck, and I kind of Superman forward with my pack. And like
Oh
my
my
pack and
gosh.
everything landed on me, and I hit shoulder first. And somehow like I didn't get hurt at all, but it was like a big heavy fall. Falling with the pack is never easy to be graceful, but somehow I just like got really lucky. Aside from that, we didn't have any other wipeouts the whole 23 days.
Holy cow, man. And now was it, I don't know anything about it. Is it hard to slow down on some of those big passes going downhill with that pack on your back?
It's not harder, you just have to be more conscious of like the distance it takes because our braking maneuvers are like a bike, we got to drag our foot. So like to stop on like a super steep hill, you're dragging your foot super hard, which one shreds your wheels up, two is like a lot of strain on the inside of your knee, especially if you're carrying a heavy pack. So you kind of got to learn to like um, pivot like you're on skis and kind of ski down the big hills um, versus just shooting straight down them. But then on some of the highways with the shoulders, like that definitely was like crazier because you just have to really be aware of your speed because you never want to get to a point where you're out of control. Um, there was, I think one of my favorite parts of that trip was we skated from Los Alamos to Jemez Springs, New Mexico. Los Alamos is where they invented the atomic bomb. It's like the whole government base is there, and we kind of just like you can walk not through it, but it's like split on two sides of the road. So we like walked through and got to explore all that area. And then when we left Los Alamos, it's like a 3,000 foot climb over like 5 miles, 6 miles maybe. So it's like you're skating straight uphill. Um, but then coming down, it was like the climb was all in the beginning, and then the descent was like perfectly, even across the next 25 miles. So we just coasted down these like long, beautiful hills, got to see like the most incredible nature. Up on top of the Jemez Mountains, it was like everything was blanketed in a layer of snow, and there's all these green pine trees, and the sky is clear forever. And then the road is like warmer than the mountains, so it's like perfectly dry, and there's no traffic. Like this road, people don't really travel through the Jemez Mountains unless they're going to this one little town or these little hot springs. So there was virtually no traffic. So for like 7 hours, we skated this. It was 25 miles, but it took us a while. But we just skated like through the most beautiful scenery with the roads to ourselves, no worries about anything. Oh man.
That sounds incredible, man. How did your girlfriend like it? Just an unbelievable experience for the two of you.
Yeah, I mean, every moment we are just awestruck, and we want to do it again. We're trying to pick the next place, but every single moment of the trip, it was like, you know, we ran into incredible people, we saw incredible things, and like, through bike packing, like the experience is always like so different than regular life. And
Yeah.
for her, like it was definitely different than anything she'd ever done. Cause she'd only done the 1 day of Ragbri. So she didn't get like a camping experience and like back to back days of like skating far. And, Ragbri is even different than just being by yourself because you're surrounded by thousands of cyclists. But she loved it. And once like New Mexico was the trip that like really propelled my mind into the like ideas of like I want to start skating through the craziest places in the world and just like experience them and show other people what they're like.
Can I ask you this? A lot of bike packers get they get oogled at wherever they are and asked a million questions. What were some of the reactions that people had seeing what you're doing? I mean, surely people asked you all the time, like, "What the heck are you guys doing out here?"
Oh yeah, people thought we were crazy.
I mean, I'm looking at pictures. People have to look at this. You guys are giant backpacking backpacks with it, and just out in the middle of nowhere in the desert. I can't imagine what people thought.
Yeah, I mean, all positive reactions. But people thought we were crazy, and they, um, man, I don't even know. People were just like so kind to us. They would say like, "Tell us what you're doing and why," and they'd say, "Let us buy you a meal," and we'd sit down and have breakfast or have coffee and just like talk to these people about skating, because it is, like you said, you don't see skating very much anymore. So when you do see it, especially in this form, it's like really strange. And I think the coolest part was that skate through the Jemez Mountains. We came across um, this little town, La Cueva. It's like maybe 150 people. It's more of a village, but there's a really fancy pizza place there. And we went inside, and the owner was like, "Whoa, you guys are the first rollerbladers I've ever seen here," which was like a cool experience, because like, everybody's done everything already. So many crazy things have been done,
Yeah, it's
especially in like
true.
the extreme sports. And when you hear like, "Oh man, we were the first skaters to skate through this mountain pass," it's like, it's kind of a cool life victory. Like like put that up on your like award shelf. Like, man, we were the first people that did that. Um, and that guy, he was so cool. He thought we were crazy, and we said, "We're trying to make it to this campsite at this time." And he said, "Don't even sweat it." On top of his pizza business, he renovated Airstreams, and he would do Airbnbs out of all these Airstreams. So he gave us an Airstream for the night for free on this stream, and it was just like in this little valley in the mountains, and the stars. There was like a billion stars out, and we had this fire, and we were just camping in this Airstream, and it was like so sick.
Yeah, man, when you're doing things that are out of the norm like that and you're a friendly, good person, you just it's the connections like that, the experiences like that you could obviously never plan for, that really make those experiences like just so unforgettable and so amazing. Let's take a quick message break and hear from the folks that help make this show possible. This episode is brought to us by Oris Watches. You know, a piece of equipment on any adventure that I'm honestly surprised by how much I use is my watch. And I'm wearing a watch right now. I always have a watch on. And I believe that you should check out Oris Watches. Oris is a 119-year-old family-owned independent watch brand based out of Hallstein, Switzerland. The brand has been certified climate and carbon neutral since 2021, and every year releases a sustainability report. Oris only makes mechanical watches like the new Pro Pilot X Caliber 400 and the new Pro Pilot Altimeter, featuring a 3D printed carbon case. If you're a fan of mechanical watches like I am, there's nothing in the game that's better than Oris, and you can discover the full Oris collection at a retailer near you or at oris.ch. So if you want that one piece of equipment in your life to be functional, to be useful, to be beautiful, artistic, check out Oris Watches. Oris, go your own way.
The best travel gear isn't born in a factory. It's inspired by journeys taken by real people exploring the world. That's why I love Rourke. Their team pulls designs and inspiration straight from the places they travel and have adventures. And for over 10 years, they've been exploring the globe to seek adventures on the road less traveled. Everything from surfing waves on remote island chains to exploring the streets of Jakarta, the Scottish Highlands, and almost everything in between. Rourke has developed options for you. I'm actually wearing the Rourke Bless Up breathable stretch shirt right now, and I was wearing a Rourke shirt yesterday. I'm traveling right now, and you could probably hear the echo in the room, but I was at this event. This guy was speaking, and he looked down at me, pointed at me right in the middle of his talk and said, "Nice shirt." And I was like, "Thank you very much." It was a Rourke shirt, and I've got my Accomplice Mule 45-liter bag. I love it because it can hold all my podcast gear, take it on the plane, but also holds extra stuff. I can put some clothes in there too, and if I didn't have my podcast gear, it could probably hold everything I needed for this trip. And it's water resistant. I love that. So Rourke offers durable, comfortable styles inspired by the places they've been. And they've got their latest collection, the Hokkaido, featuring Japanese prints and patterns and Japanese manufactured Kaihara premium denim. So if you're traveling, Rourke has the gear options. And for a limited time, if you're a listener of the show, you can get 15% off your first order. Go to Rourke.com. Use the code ASP15 at checkout. That's ROARK.com, and use the code ASP15 for 15% off your first order.
Are you a busy person with lots of passions and lots of responsibilities and very little time like me? Well, you might be a fan of Green Chef. Green Chef is the #1 meal kit for eating clean, dinners that work for you. They deliver everything you need to eat great the easy way this October. Feel your best with nutrition-approved recipes delivered right to your door. Easy to prep meals, all the ingredients you need, and pretty good-sized portions too. You know, I'm a big guy. I'm like 6'4", 220 on a good day. And, you know, I'm always worried, oh man, is this going to be enough food for me? Because I can put it down. Well, Green Chef, man, believe it or not, my family of 4 had leftovers afterwards. Now, granted, the kids are small, but I more than make up for what they don't eat. And we had leftovers. It felt good. I didn't feel sluggish. I didn't feel like I put too much butter or salt or anything on it. It was clean eating. Especially this time of year, things get crazy. Maybe the weather's turning in your area, and it's just tough. It's just tough to grocery shop. Man, that's one of my least favorite things to do. I'm thankful we can grocery shop, but Green Chef made it easy, delivered it right to my door to make a home-cooked, nutritious meal for my family. So if you want to give Green Chef a shot, go to greenchef.com/60ASP and use the code 60ASP to get 60% off plus free shipping. That's an insane deal. 60% off. Again, that's greenchef.com/ASP60 and use the code ASP60 for 60% off and free shipping. The link's in the show notes. Green Chef, the #1 meal kit for eating well. This episode is brought to us by Oris Watches. You know what piece of equipment on any adventure that I'm honestly surprised by how much I use is my watch. And I'm wearing a watch right now. I always have a watch on. And I believe that you should check out Oris Watches. Oris is a 119-year-old family-owned independent watch brand based out of Holstein, Switzerland. The brand has been certified climate and carbon neutral since 2021 and every year releases a sustainability report. Oris only makes mechanical watches like the new Pro Pilot X Caliber 400 and the new Pro Pilot Altimeter featuring a 3D printed carbon case. If you're a fan of mechanical watches like I am, there's nothing in the game that's better than Oris, and you can discover the full Oris collection at a retailer near you or at oris.ch. So if you want that one piece of equipment in your life to be functional, to be useful, to be beautiful, artistic, check out Oris Watches. Oris, go your own way. That is plenty of that for now. Let's get back into the episode.
Yeah, definitely. And we've stayed friends with so many of the people that we met on that trip. We just stay connected with them and periodically text them and say, hey, I hope you guys are well.
So
and like I want to go back to New Mexico at some point and do that trip again, or at least do parts of it. Cause like the Jemez Mountain Skate was so incredible, and southern New Mexico was so beautiful. Like New Mexico as a whole is like one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. I would have never known what it's like there. I, in my mind, pictured a desert for as far as you could see. And then we go to skate there and it's like lush deserts, like lush forests, mountains, like lakes, every type of nature and scenery is there. And it was like so mind blowing to think about.
So you didn't know what it was like beforehand. That's pretty cool. It's an amazing place.
Yeah, super amazing.
What do you think was the biggest lesson you learned on this 23-day experience?
I think we got really good at leaning into each other when we needed energy, which is, I think, it's definitely one of the best parts about having like a partner that, you know, shares the same passion with me and enjoys these crazy skates. Cause, you know, there's moments when you're skating and you feel totally overwhelmed and you're like, I'm ready to be done. And then like I would look up and I would see Bambi skating, you know, crushing it. You know, she's leaving me behind on a hill, and I'm thinking, this little girl is carrying this pack and all this weight up this hill, and she kind of would just look at me and just be like, you know, you got this too. And it would just like refresh your energy and make you feel good. And I just like keep going. And there are moments where I did that for her. And I think that was just like a super integral part of us being able to make it across that trip. And also just like chilling out. Definitely like in life, you don't get a lot of opportunities to be outside of your normal life routine. But like 23 days is a long time. And you just really learn that even with all the problems of life, like it's best to just like be chill and just take everything, don't be so serious about everything. And I think that trip was that for us. Like we just 23 days of what would be really hard work, but we were so chill and easy minded about it and just like carried each other. And like, that was definitely the biggest part of that trip for me.
You said it kind of expanded your vision of what you'd like to do in the future, just what's possible. What kind of ideas are floating around, and or what do you have planned for another blade packing trip?
So this last like year and a half, as my skates have gotten crazier, I'm sure you saw I've been like trying to connect. I've been trying to do more, I don't know if charitable is the right phrase, but like charitable skating, or skating that is not just really cool, but like has a bigger picture to it.
Purpose, maybe?
Yeah, a bigger purpose. So I had never done anything like that aggressive skating. It was always like, I'm going to film the coolest tricks. I'm going to film the coolest thing. These other skaters are going to think this is cool. And that's all it was about, like getting really good and learning to do the coolest tricks. And now with big wheel blading and, the like mental things I've gone through and the meditation and the like finding myself, I definitely went through that phase of like, what am I doing and what's the bigger purpose here? And I started to shift my skating towards a bigger purpose. And I'd seen, cyclists do charities all the time, runners do charities and all that. And I started to try to do that, but I had no clue what I was doing. Like, for as much as like ultra blading is like a new thing for me and almost a new niche for the sport, it was like, that was unknown to me, but also the like charity things was unknown. I didn't know if you just like call a place up and say, I want to do this. And I started literally doing that. The first RAGBRAI, I reached out to a children's charity in Iowa and I said, hey, I'm going to rollerblade RAGBRAI. I know that sounds crazy, but like, I would love to connect it to your guys' charity. And they said, okay. And then I did that. And it's been like a learning experience trying to do that. And it's also been an experience trying to translate that for the people seeing what I'm doing. Cause I feel like, a sport like cycling has so much history behind it and so many people are aware of it that when a cyclist says, I'm going to go do a 100-mile ride for this charity, so many people are like, whoa, that's crazy. When I say I'm going to do it on blades, people are at first kind of confused and kind of like a lot of people haven't seen stuff like that. And so that's been like a learning curve for me, trying to figure out not only how to, going through the struggle of doing these crazy feats, but also like trying to connect them to a bigger message and stay on top of that and share what I think is positive things. And that's been going pretty well. And then like with the New Mexico thing, and with RAGBRAI again for the third year, I kind of started to see like, I think one of the things I really enjoy is showing people, a perspective of what this place they have never been to is like. And I feel like blade packing definitely gives me a different view than what a lot of people get to see. So my goals right now are I want to start going to places that people are super unaware of, or people have such a wrong idea of. And I just want to skate them and do everything the same, meet people and see the nature and see the way cities work and share that perspective with the world to try and broaden their horizon, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, seems like an amazing way to travel and an amazing way to actually experience a place where you feel the air, you smell the smells, you could if something interesting catches your eye, you can stop and look at
Yeah.
it and talk to somebody. And obviously, man, I think it's a great idea to connect this with a bigger purpose if that's what you want to do, just because, a lot of people are doing the cycling or the running trips, but honestly, it's kind of a dime a dozen. Not saying it's not a good thing, but there's so many of them. You can definitely get lost in the multitude of charitable rides or whatever. But if you're blading, you're going to be the only one doing it for a while. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to
Yeah.
really stick out in people's minds saying, whoa, this guy, you'll never believe who I just met. This guy's rollerblading like across America for this cause. It's amazing. And, you Google that and you're the only one that's going to pop up,
I've got the two biggest ones that I'm really proud of. Did you see the Athens to Atlanta skate that I did?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so Athens to Atlanta is an 87-mile road race, and it's been on my list for the last few years. And last year I said, I guess it would be the year before last because it just happened last month. A year and a month ago, I was going to do it, and I kept hearing rumors about this crazy old guy that skates the route backwards the night before the race. And through internet talk, everybody said, oh, a bunch of people do this every year. And I thought, well, that's cool. I'm going to join these guys. And I wanted to connect it to a charity. So I did that. I got connected with an Atlanta-based charity that works with victims of sexual violence. And I was like, I'm going to try to skate 200 miles in one day. And I was like, it was such a strange thing for me because I'm trying to hype this up in people's mind. I'm like, I'm going to skate 200 miles in a day. And I did this whole online campaign, and I was bringing up talking points that I thought, that was challenging for me because I wanted to bring awareness to this cause, but I had to do it delicately because, coming from a male in our society right now, like, things are super crazy. And so I just tried to be myself and say hey, this is, some of my experiences, and this is some of my friends' experiences, and this is how I feel like this. And I'm going to do this crazy thing, and I want to raise money for this organization. And it's that's how I put it basically. And I get there and I find out that this guy has done it by himself 8 years in a row. No one's ever done it with him. So, I say, hey, I'm really going to do this. And this guy is old school speed skater, never turns backwards, never leaves the ground. He just skates forward like a speed skater. And it was a really interesting moment in my career is, meeting this guy, and another one of our friends joined, and I skated a marathon in downtown Atlanta. I started at 5 p.m. on a Saturday, and I skated this marathon in downtown Atlanta, and then had dinner, and then got on the bike trail that led out of the city, and we skated the 87 miles to the starting line of the race. We got there, we had enough time to change our socks, eat some food, rest for 10 minutes, and then the race was starting. So I skated 113 miles and then turned around and skated this 87-mile road race back, which is crazy because I went through so many mental barriers and so many layers of self in that 20 hours of just 20 hours of nonstop skating. And that one was I kept thinking man, definitely no one else is doing this. Why aren't people thinking this is crazy? And I realized it's it is just it's a strange thing where people haven't seen it, so they don't know how to react to it,
Yeah, man. Yeah, what a feat though. I mean, how did it feel to actually do it?
It felt awesome. I mean, I don't know what it's like to cycle a crazy long distance. I do a lot of cycling in town to get around. I think the most I've honestly ever done in a day is 30 miles on a bike. But when you start doing a distance on skates, and after you start to hit a wall, and once you break through that wall, your brain kind of goes to this zen place. And with each new wall you break through, you're in this different layer of strange, chaotic zen. And after 200 miles, my brain's never felt that way before. I was on the world's most extreme runner's high, and it was nuts. I crossed this finish line. It was a road race, and so everyone had already finished. I think I came in 6th from last, which I'm, for skating 200 miles, I'm happy about
Yeah, you
that.
did the whole route once already, so not bad.
But crossing the finish line was really cool, especially because there were a couple people there that told me what I was doing was a bad idea and was dangerous, and they said I wouldn't make it. And I think that is a motivator. And to cross the finish line, having done this like crazy physical feat, but also like having the bonus of like doing it for something cooler was so awesome. And like my favorite part of that whole experience was the 5th checkpoint of the race. There's checkpoints of the race where they hand out bananas and waters for the skaters going by. The 5th one was ran by this woman and her 2 daughters, and her 2 daughters were standing on the side of the road handing out waters and bananas, and she was taking photos of the skaters as they went by. And I was having this moment where I was just like super worn out. I'm like 150 miles in. I'm by myself. I've been by myself for 5 hours. Like, I'm going through so much mental stuff, and I'm like trying in my head to ground myself and say like, hey, remember what you're doing this for. Like, keep going. And I come around this corner, and these 2 little girls are standing there, and they run out to the road and they hand me this water. And I think, oh man, what like a blessing right now. And I was like, it helped me to keep going. And then 3 nights later, they had the Atlanta social skate, and I was there. And the woman who was taking photos came up to me, and she had found out about the 200 miles and about the charity, and she had written or read some of the things I wrote about it. And she pulled me aside and said, I really appreciate what you're doing. Like, I appreciate, I have 2 daughters, and I think what you're doing is super important and super incredible to them. And that to me was way cooler than like, any companies or online or anybody like saying like, this is really sick. It was like such a personal moment in my career where I was like, yes, like this is what I've been looking for. This is like the bigger thing that has felt so good and like helped me to just like keep going with these crazy things.
Dude, that is so amazing to hear. In the world of adventure or extreme sports, there's so much focus on your own story, your own goals. Like you said, doing things that other people are going to think is cool. But when you're able, for anyone that's never experienced it, if you're able to use that passion or that skill of just pushing yourself to do something what people consider crazy, if you can do that for the sake of others, I don't think there's any better combination of things in all of life, And when you have an experience like that kind of affirms it and says, this means a lot to me, thank you for doing this. Oh my gosh, what an experience, man. That's really cool. I hope you continue doing this kind of stuff and, helping people in whatever causes that ends up being,
Yes, me too.
Anything on the horizon for you?
Yeah, I've got quite a few crazy things planned this summer. We're going to see how they pan out. But my biggest blade packing one is I'm really interested in skating the U.S.-Mexico border. I saw that a BBC travel writer cycled the border, which I know there's a lot of like gravel roads right against the border.
Yes.
But I've been doing research and finding highways and trying to plan a route. But I really want to skate the U.S.-Mexico border and experience it because I know that, it's scary. And I think right now in this current time and place, there's a lot of chaos and a lot of unknown. A lot of people don't really know what's going on down there. And honestly, like I have a lot of family members that on Facebook, I'm sure a lot of people experience the same thing, but you have friends or family members that aren't really aware of a place and then they start talking bad about it. And I think, man, you've never been there. You've never been to this place. You don't know what it's like. There's going to be nature there. There's going to be parks. There's going to be restaurants and coffee shops and art and people doing what they love and life, like going on like it does every day. And I like want to go skate that, and I want to see what it's like, and I want to meet these people and see their stories, and just like say, hey, you guys don't know what this place is like, but it's beautiful just like everywhere else is, and everywhere has its problems. But that's like a real big one on my list this year. I want to make that happen and just do my best to like put some good energy in that direction, because I know it definitely needs it.
Yeah, man. I've cycled some of the border, a lot of road, but like right up against it, and it was an experience. There's places where people were warning me like constantly, like you got to be careful, just because a lot of attention is on the border with getting things across the border. It's like just a lot does go on there. But
Yeah.
overall, it was definitely an interesting experience to see it and see what it's really like. And I feel like if I talk about it now, I know a lot more of what I'm talking about than I did before, and good and bad. Like it was awesome. It's beautiful. It is a trip just to think. There's mountains. There's all kinds of stuff to cross. It's in New Mexico. You probably close to it at point. Oh, you were close to it. That'd be a cool trip, man. So you would do the patrol roads right there against the border, huh?
Yeah, as close as I can get. I know a lot of them are probably unpaved.
Yeah, all the ones that I was on were unpaved.
And that definitely makes for a challenge, but
I can imagine. And then there's places where there's just no border because the line it's on is going right over these super jagged mountains. So the fence just ends. You go around the mountains. It's crazy.
That's crazy.
It is crazy.
I'm sure I'm going to get there and face like a whole number of challenges, but that's on my list. I want to attempt a triple century, which has been done on a closed course by a speed skater. But I want to try to do it outdoors just for the sake of seeing how crazy that would be. And then I've been talking about it for a couple of years because I had a friend who skated across the US a couple of years ago. But I would love to try to set the Guinness World Record for skating across the United States. And I want to do it in 30 days. So it would be New York to San Diego. And I think it comes out to like right around 107 miles a day for 30 days. And so my mind, like when I pick a goal that I want to do, I start to research it and I start to talk about it and like slowly manifest it. And when I say that one, like people are like, oh man, that just sounds crazy and not fun. And I think about it, like I start with like, oh yeah, man, skating 107 miles is going to be cool. And then skating 107 miles the next day, that's going to be really interesting. And I think about like after day 10, what is that going to be like? That's an unknown that I've never experienced. Am I going to like become like a super athlete who suddenly is like, what is that going to be like? What's my body going to feel like? What's my mind going to feel like? Like, I think it's going to be awesome, honestly. Or I'm going to fail and learn, a super valuable lesson. And I've like definitely failed a couple times on my big trips. And, I'm used to that. I'm used to failing, and I'm used to like things not going right. And that honestly, if I could go back to that question you asked earlier about one of the biggest lessons, I think that is one of them too, is that like failure is not a bad thing. It's just another direction that you have to go sometimes to figure out where you're going. And I learn so much every time I fail. I learn how to treat my body differently, what I need to carry, how to treat where I'm going, and how to understand things. And like, I really graciously accept failure. And I'm thankful for that life lesson that skating gave to me, because it transcends my skating and it goes into other parts of life. I'm less afraid to try new things, because, if I fail, it's like, okay, well, I just try it differently, or I try something else. And that is just like, I think, a really good, healthy thing that it's done for me.
Someone told me the other day that experience is what you get when you don't get what you want. And if you want to succeed in this and you failed, well, you just got experience, and that is obviously hugely valuable. And when you get what you want, you don't get as much experience necessarily. You get a success, you get something you can put on a resume or something, whatever. But you know what I mean? They're both, in my opinion, completely equal in value and in their benefit. But dude, you know, I appreciate you coming on and making it happen so quick.
Thank you, man.
Perfect. All right. Well, let's stay in touch, and I'll let you know when it comes out.
Cool.
All right.
Awesome.
Have a good Sunday.
Yeah. Enjoy the rest of your day, man.
All right. See you later.
Bye.
Bye. First of all, thank you so much for listening. It means the world to us that you choose to listen to the show. If you'd like to help us further, you can leave a review on iTunes, share us with your friends, your family. It goes a long way to grow in the show. You can also support us financially through patreon.com/adventuresportspodcast. Link is in the show notes. And also, if you have an idea of who could be a good guest for the show, we're always looking for people to tell their story about the outdoors or adventure. So if you know someone, please reach out. Email us at info@adventuresportspodcast.com. And until then, get out there and have some fun.